This episode of In Focus is being made possible with the support of Cronin Toyota and Cronin Nissan, proud to support our active and retired military members and their families. Cronin Toyota and Cronin Nissan, 5601 National Road East, Richmond. Hi, I'm Eric, Executive Director of Whitewater Community Television. Welcome to this episode of In Focus. Glad you're able to join us as we do a special program from the Veterans Memorial Park in Richmond. They are, as you can see over my shoulder, bringing up the Huey helicopter that you've heard a lot about on the program Proudly We Served. Oh, you haven't heard it on that show. Well, on WCTV, Channel 20, we have a program called Proudly We Served. It's hosted by Ron Chappelle and Al Bledsoe, and I have Ron with me here. Yes. How are you today?
And if they say they haven't heard it on that program, brother, they ain't listened to the program, okay?
And there is possible, one of the reasons we're doing this is we know that people sometimes tune into separate channels than what we have. They don't understand sometimes that we have three separate channels and completely different programming on the three. Right. This show is showing on WGTV Channel 11, where a lot of people get their government information. Your show, Proudly We Serve, shows up on WETV Channel 20, our educational access channel, so they may not have caught that.
Appropriate channel.
Give us a little bit of background on how you and Al started that show and why it began, because it's been 5-6 years now?
At least 6 years, yes.
Okay.
Al and we just began talking about it. We were associated in several ministerial organizations, and we just began to talk about how it would be a good thing if we had a source, a way to get information to veterans and out to the veteran community and their families. And so that began kind of the germ of the concept. So if I'm not mistaken, Al got a hold of you first, I think.
I don't remember.
I think Al got it and said we
could
could talk about it. And so then we met with you, and we began the process of putting the program together. And our first year, we won Producers of the Year.
Yes, indeed, you did.
That's right. So we over the years we've provided a whole host of different types of information about veterans. That many I see guys who tell me, "Man, I didn't know that. I'm so glad you guys, and community members, family members, that are learning things about the veterans and that. So it's really become a great resource for the community, and I am proud to be a part of Proudly We Serve. Yes, sir.
You all have even made connections with that show to the Veterans Department over in Indianapolis.
Yes.
You've been able to bring some state members over. How did that come about, and what was their reaction to it?
We just called them, and we told them what we were doing, and they realized that a lot of their initiatives were kind of laying dormant. I mean, they had it on document, but it wasn't getting out there. So we told them what they could. Now, there's always the bureaucracy part of it and all that, but
sure.
we were able to get through that. And we got the director over here from Indianapolis. We even got the guys from Dayton to come over from the hospital, talk about the services that they provided there. So it's been awesome what we've been able to accomplish, through this program. I think people want people to know what they're doing. So when you give them a resource, a medium, a place that they can get their information out, they're willing to jump on board, and they ain't got to pay for it. Okay?
That's true. One of your recurring guests has been Pete McDaniel, who is the Veterans Affairs Officer here in Wayne County. They've even added to his department. The city and the county have gone in together. Talk about the veterans population that exists, which was one of the things that really created that show, is the large veterans population that we have in Wayne County.
Right, absolutely. If I'm not mistaken, the count is close to 7,000, thereabouts. And Pete, in the one-person office, was just getting overwhelmed. And so here lately, they were able to add the position of Virgil Shaw. Those guys provide a great work. They they help people file for their disabilities, file for if you need to get a copy of your DD-214. They help families in the event of a passing service member to get all the necessary things that they need, for burial and for the veterans compensation, for burial. Just a whole bunch of information that these guys provide, resources they provide. So usually when people come to me, although I know a lot of the stuff, I take them, send them to the professionals, okay? Because I don't want to mess up. I don't want to mess up. So, yeah. So.
Talk about your place in the veterans community here. How did you? Obviously, you are a veteran, and thank you very much for your service. But how did you get involved with the park down here and everything associated with what the veterans are doing in this community?
Well, when I came to Richmond, I came as a pastor, and I'm still a pastor, but I just heard about the Vietnam Veterans Association. I knew about the VFW, but I heard about the Vietnam Veterans Association, which kind of piqued my interest. So I came down to the meeting one night, and I've been there ever since as a part. In fact, the second year, they elected me as chaplain of the organization. so
Good being a pastor.
Yeah, and I just, I interact with all the guys, I try to help them with issues and problems. The thing is, veterans aren't wanting to talk to people about their experiences. And so when someone can come in and talk to them and relate, you'd be surprised at the flood that occurs. And so it's a great release for them. I even had opportunity to share with some veterans who were passing on, and the weight on their heart was some of their experiences. And so they were able to share that with me, and so that's been rewarding for me to be able to help. But this organization, we do a lot. We don't just take care of ourselves. We help other organizations, Boys and Girls Clubs, food programs, and all that. We do a lot of stuff in the community. Yeah. So I love it. I love being a part of it. Yeah.
You're watching In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. I'm Eric Marsh, speaking with Ron Chappell, who is the co-host of Proudly We Served, which airs Monday nights at 8 p.m. on WETV Channel 20. You all have taken that show through about 6 years. You've had a number of guests. Are there things that you all talk about that you want to continue doing, that you want to try to do with that show as it continues for hopefully at least another couple of years?
Yeah, well, definitely the services that are out there for veterans, to keep them continually abreast of what's going on, changes that have occurred, in the VA system that they need to be aware of, bringing in people who have knowledge of those changes, that's important, If there are new initiatives, we need to be able to bring people in to talk about those things, Elle and I, we know a lot, but we don't know it all. I tell you, we know a few things about a lot of things, and a lot of things about a few things, but we don't know everything. We want to continually keep the community abreast of what's happening that may impact on the veterans and their families.
How do you use that show to help connect with some of the younger veterans? Because one of the things I hear is that some of the veterans in recent years and recent conflicts maybe haven't engaged as much. Could that show in some way bridge that conversation?
It can, and it has in some instances. The problem we're having, Eric, is getting their participation and coming on the program. Their fears and inhibitions kind of keep them at bay. The older guys, that they've had some years, and they've been able to kind of,
a little farther removed from the experience, maybe?
Yeah. So they talk about it, but the younger fellas and gals, they're not as easy to bring on board. And I'm not sure how to handle that right now, but I've got some ideas. It's just like in a church. If you want to bring young people, you got to have young people involved.
So there may be another co-host maybe involved.
Co-host, that's right. Right. Yeah. So we'll see.
All right. Well, thank you for taking some time. And if you haven't had a chance to see the show, it's called Proudly We Served. It airs Monday evenings at 8 p.m. on WETV Channel 20, which is part of the family of stations here at Whitewater Community Television. Ron, thank you for your service.
Can I say this?
Yes, you can.
If you folks out there who see this, if you know of anyone who can make make a positive contribution to the program, please have them get in contact with me. They can contact me through the station and let us know what service information that they'd like to provide, and we'll talk with you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I'm Al Bledsoe, Veterans of Foreign War, Post 1108.
I'm Ron Chappelle, chaplain for Vietnam Veterans of America here in Richmond, Post 777, and co-host here with Al at Proudly We Served.
And our guest today is...
Yeah, Whitney Mays. You do a good job, but hey, listen, this is Mother Whitney out there.
Oh, I know.
Okay? Ladies, we're gonna let you introduce yourself so we don't mess up. Okay. How'd you guys come up with this? I mean, what inspired you to want to do this?
Veterans have been just very supportive of all that the Parks Department has been able to do in the last 2 years.
We're glad to have Pete here today with us, and we always have a good, informative show when Pete's around.
Yeah.
Ideally, what they would say, if a veteran had over $80,000 of assets in the bank, that he couldn't apply for a pension on an income-based type pension, because they said, look, we want you to expend that $80,000 before you apply for this type of pension.
If they can't provide a service, they'll give me authorization through referral to find someone to provide that particular service.
Right.
And even if your heart is right, you still have to deal with some of the institutional things that have been impediments for people, to progress.
Anything's possible.
Yeah.
I mean,
I tell people all the time, I say, I went to Nam in 65, I went to Laos in 69, but you guys are in it 24/7. Back in the day, and I ain't gonna give a testimony.
it's really a strange thing. I tell everybody, he's my brother, but I still got to make an appointment to see him. To be a police officer nowadays, you guys do a tremendous job in this community.
What's the most important thing that you'd like to convey to our audience?
Apply at the Wayne County Sheriff's Office.
Proud brother, man. 7'4". 7'4", and
well,
looking
Ron.
for more.
Yeah.
All right?
Oh, yeah.
7'4", looking for more. Okay.
Congratulations.
It ain't about me today. It ain't about me.
Ain't about
It
you.
ain't about me. Okay.
That's the cycle of life. I know when I was younger, we all would suck it up and go on, because we knew we wasn't going to die from it, because we was farting out.
Right.
Now we're in that demographic today. We get a back pain, we're like, wait a minute, call an ambulance. Something's not right.
Well, I
Hey,
think,
we're down on time, guys.
Okay.
We gotta go.
oh, we got to go. I didn't realize that. Okay. So, thank you for coming.
We thank you folks for tuning in to Proudly We Serve.
Thank you.
and
Welcome back to In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WCTV Channel 11. We are in the Veterans Memorial Park as we continue with this special In Focus program. I'm joined by Bill Engel. Bill, how are you?
Thank you. I'm great, Eric. Good to see you.
Now, give us a little background on your military service.
I was in the U.S. Army from 71 through 73. I was a draftee and went to Vietnam in January of 72, and I came home in early December of 72. I came into Da Nang and was up there for a couple of weeks, and then flew south to the Bien Hoa area, and then to Long Binh, and eventually I ended up in Saigon. I did a lot of. I went over as a clerk, but I was mostly a truck driver and a perimeter guard. I did a lot of that kind of thing. So it was interesting.
In your time with the Palladium item, obviously you wrote stories and saw a lot happen down in this area. Talk about what your thoughts were as this park developed through the years.
Well, I've always been amazed by what's been accomplished and the work of this veterans community and their friends and the other supporters, which includes a lot of local businesses, and city government's been a huge supporter of this project. But it's always amazing to me to come down and see one monument, and then there's three more, and then there's three more after that, and the Huey today is just a perfect example of how these things are happening. And it's totally grassroots effort, and I give all these people all the credit in the world. I actually was here when the park started. Barbara Gray came into my office and talked me into coming out here, and they were planting a tree, and they were making plans for the Vietnam monument, and it's just been interesting to follow all the way through.
As you heard the plans develop, did you really think it would be what it has become?
Never. No. I never thought I'd see it in my lifetime. I know how these things work, having covered government forever. Mm-hmm. And my guess is if government was doing it, it would take 3 times as long. But these guys just come out and work, the men and women, and they do all these things, build things and pull weeds and then come in for the services here. So it's really a full circle kind of thing, and it's just amazing to see, because I watched people come in with monuments and get help on all the projects they've done. City of Richmond was always a huge help. Sally Hutton and Bill Smith, our former street commissioner. Yeah. So it's been really kind of inspiring to see this happen.
You're wearing the Bring Our Huey Home shirt. Yeah. This is really your era. Talk about your thoughts when you see this helicopter going on. I have to admit, it didn't even occur to me that I was coming here today to see the Huey until I got up close, and then there it was. And it's really unique, because I flew in helicopters part of the time. I was a courier at the end, and I would do troop strengths, and I would take them up to headquarters, and I would just go down and jump in a Huey. But to see this here is pretty exciting, and I've ridden in it a couple of times when the wall has been here, and to hear that sound, it really brings back memories. Thanks for your time. Thank you for your service. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate you. Thanks, Eric.
I was a field corpsman for the Marines. They had me in a hospital with like a trauma unit. If you ever seen MASH, that's what I was in. Just like that. Except we wasn't quite as funny. But we had at least from 40 to 50 guys coming in every day, seriously wounded. And we had to triage them by stabling them out, giving them x-rays, and pre-oping them for the operating room. But every day that was the same thing, every day. But I was wounded twice while I was over there, and lost my cousin while I was over there. Escorted him home, and then went back over there again. The world ain't fair, and I knew it then, that it wasn't going to be fair. But people do what they got to do, and that's what we did. All of us vets feel the same way. We did what we had to. When I first got home, it They was just finishing on the new courthouse downtown, and there was protesters out there about the Vietnam War. I couldn't handle that. Ended up getting a fight with them, ended up going to jail the same night. But we all have a way of sitting back and taking everything the way it was. All of our vets right now, we all feel the same way about it. It was our duty to go, and we did it. And now that we have done it, we feel that we deserve some kind of recognition, and we're getting it today. This is a recognition that we didn't have before. The tanks, the helicopter, this is my memorial, this Purple Heart Memorial. I got 2 Purple Hearts that are here. My cousin's got his here. He's on the main wall because he didn't come back.
I don't think we could have survived on the DMZ without it. They were very instrumental. Where I was at, there was no military bases north of us. Between us and North Vietnam, we was in. At the time, there was no Army units up there, so we was attached to the 3rd Marine Division.
This was our main baby here. This thing, if you heard the Huey coming, you was either getting food supplies, ammunition supplies, medical support, gunfire support. You were getting something good. You heard that Huey, so it made you excited, you know, to see those guys coming over the horizon over there in the jungle. You know, it was kind of exciting. So I wanted to be here today for this. I know for a lot of the guys, it's going to bring back some memories. Some of them are going to be kind of painful, but at the same time, you know, kind of a paradox. You're going to, you know, enjoy the fact of being able to see it. I think it will help solidify us because we all have something in common. You know what I'm saying? We all, for Vietnam especially, acknowledge that as that was it for us. And so it kind of helps us to kind of come together and kind of, you know, just kind of bond, I think. I think it's a bonding thing. You know, I mean, you look at the folks that are here today, we're not selling any food, we're not giving out food, anything like that. Just mounting this Huey. And folks are coming out, family members are coming out, community members are coming out, you know, to see this thing. And I think it's great. And I think it helps for the community too, because when they see this and they realize, you know, this was a part of our military experience, I don't think people really got the idea, grasped the concept of guys and gals flying around in the jungle, you know, on what? You know? But that was it. That was the baby, you know, so.
Yeah, I'm proud to have that chopper here. And like I said, you know, I flew out it a lot, not that particular one. I was away down south, and that picky chopper there, it's 25th Infantry Division chopper. I was what you call an FO, that's a forward observer. You go out, you're assigned to go out with an infantry unit. And you're supposed to be an FO, you're supposed to be a lieutenant, but anyway, in the Army, they can make you whatever they want to make you. So I was just a PFC when I first started, and then I was just a 2-year boy. I got drafted, and but anyway, with the infantry unit I was assigned to, we used to fly out in the bush, and we'd be out there for a few days, and then we come back into our main base, which was Dongtam, and that was down by the Mekong River. In fact, it was right on the Mekong River, actually. And And anyway, we used to go out to helicopter pads, and which was right by my artillery pieces. Not mine, but I was assigned to them too. But anyway, then all the infantry boys would get on them choppers, including me and my radio operator, and out in the boonies we'd go. And sometimes we had to walk back to base, but it wasn't that far out. So, and then we was at an Arvin base, and we got in there like 11 o'clock at night, and about 2 o'clock the Arvins left, and it was just shortly after that we got mortars and rockets that came in, and the base wasn't all that big. They were small bases, and if you want to call, I can't even say it was a base really, but it was not like some people think what a base would be. And anyway, I got scrap metal in the back of my neck and my face, and then after that I didn't hardly ever go out. And when I did go out, they wouldn't let me call in artillery no more because of my situation I was in. And so I stayed back at the base quite a bit. And we came back. I went over in 69, and I came back in 69. And I had a little bit more time to do, so I got stationed at Fort Carson, Colorado. And that's where I got out of the service at. Well, I'm sure a lot of guys probably feel about the way I feel about that chopper. It was a lifesaver. It was just something you really flew. I mean, nobody wants to go in the boonies, you know, because you don't know if you're going to get hit. You know, you might die, and you damn sure don't want to die. Excuse that word. I'm sorry about that. But you know, and they're just something in my heart makes me feel good when I see that helicopter, and I love it. I truly love it. And I love it down here. Way back in the day, me and some other guys, we cleared up a field back over that way, and that's how all this got started. And it turned into a beautiful, beautiful park. So, and it's all ours. But we respect all the other services, as you've probably seen. And I think that's great too, because that way our Iraq soldiers and other soldiers can come down here and they can enjoy this. And this little thing right here is built by the VFW, and I think they did a wonderful job. I'm not sure who put up the restrooms, but they are nice. And the whole. Then you can come down here anytime you want to, in the daytime, nighttime. And I love coming down here when there's nobody here. I love to come down here just to sit. There's nobody buried here, but there's a lot of names out there on them bricks and names on that wall. And they're all from here in Wayne County. Richmond, I think, but Wayne County anyway. And but it's just a beautiful place to come to. And I talk to other veterans, and they come down here too.
Welcome back to this special In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. I'm very happy to have with me former State Senator Alan Paul, who is no stranger to our In Focus programs. He's been with us on In Focus election coverage a couple of different times.
I've enjoyed it. Sure.
Thank you very much for spending some time with us today.
Yes,
your background in the service is what?
Yes, I was in Vietnam. I was in the Army 3 years, and I was there 68, 69 in Vietnam. And so this is very familiar to me, this helicopters thing.
Did you spend much time in one of these?
Spent a lot of time in them. I had, I think when I left, had 127 combat assaults. So I got used to them, I can tell you that. But they're a lifesaver, and just the sound of them used to just give me chills when they were coming in to get us out. Mm-hmm. And they were phenomenal in battle. And of course, they had no Air Force. And so it was kind of interesting when you think about it.
you have always been, when you were in the state, even after you came out of office, been very involved in veterans affairs throughout the state. Talk about, obviously, your service was a part of that, but also the people that you met, the people that you served with, obviously had an impact on you and what you tried to do.
Oh, yes. When I went over, I volunteered for the infantry, and I ended up in the infantry carrying a radio. So I saw what it was all about very quickly. And people from all over the United States and different backgrounds. Honestly, many of them could not read or write, and they were put into the infantry. But I'll tell you what, you give them a machine gun and tell them what to do, and they could do it very well. And many of them from the inner cities, their use of a knife and how to honestly fight. And I remember the guys who say, you know, you may not last out here. You know, your training has not been for this. And it was, and I went from the fraternity house to that. But boy, did I learn from those people. The first few weeks was very interesting, honestly.
As you have continued your work, one of the things we were talking about off camera is that you've been helping really to close an institution that was near and dear to you. Can you give us some background on what you've been working on?
Yes, I'm on the Howe Military Academy Board of Directors.
And for those who aren't familiar, Howe Military Academy is?
Yeah, it's a private boarding school, a military academy up in Howe, Indiana, which is up in the northern part of the state, and in LaGrange County. Okay. And employed about 100 people, and in its heyday it was about 630 cadets. And all of the graduates every year have always gone on to college. That was something we would boast, that if the cadet came there, more likely go to a college, or if they went in the military, they could go into officer training.
Did you recruit a lot of people from this area there
At one time, they did. They're probably, when I was there in the 60s, we probably had 10 people from this area. Okay. And then we recruited heavily for athletes from this area too. We had basketball players and football from this area.
Talk about this park, because you've seen this park develop almost from the beginning. When you first heard about this idea and where it was going to be, what were your thoughts?
Well, I remember being in on the first meetings out at the Holiday Inn when they first began to talk about it. And I was in the Senate and Boddicker was in the House, and I remember talking with him afterwards how we would try to help get money to do it. I questioned whether or not it could be done. Just because of where it's located. Mm-hmm. Many cities have a very small little park someplace, but nothing of the magnitude of this. But Sally Hutton and the different people got a hold of it, and it's just phenomenal what's happened down here in the past 5 years. And people that haven't been here, I would say, get down here, especially with this Huey display now. If they haven't seen one, this is a good chance to do it. There aren't many of them left. And then all the memorials have been given. A Dwyer Vault Company, I know, has been very active in giving things. And the whole community has. And the veterans groups have really worked down here, mowing grass and everything else.
This really has been a labor of love throughout the community, and you mentioned it. It's not a Democrat, it's not a Republican, it's not an independent. This isn't about political. Absolutely. This is about the people who have given their lives so that we can have the freedoms that we have.
That's correct. And you come here to remember who you served with. When the wall comes here, it's always a very solemn occasion for the Gold Star mothers to come down and visit with us, and it means a lot to all of us. And you come here for sometimes just by yourself, to walk or to sit around, read down here, or whatever. It's a wonderful experience. So I would invite you all to come down.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Appreciate all of your service.
Yes, sir. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
State Senator Alan Paul. We'll be back with more In Focus after this.
Well, I've been in the Army. I was in the Army for 24 years. I went in 1962. And then I went to Vietnam. I was deployed to Vietnam in 1965. I had a casualty situation there that's beyond belief. I actually died. Through a miracle, I came back. That's all I could tell you. And they medevaced me back to the States. And after I recovered fully, they sent me to Laos. So like, they didn't have enough, right? And I was in Laos for 13 months, and I came back and decided I wanted to do something different. So I went on back to school, and long story short, I ended up in the human relations program for the military, helping to do that kind of work with our soldiers and the civilians employed by the U.S. Army and U.S. government back. I enjoyed my military life. Aside from Nam and Laos, I had a great life. I had a chance to travel. Young boy born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in the ghetto, and I've been everywhere. I've been all over Europe and parts of Asia, and just had a good life in that regard. I was charged with the responsibility one time of actually riding as a gunner on the Huey, and my seat was directly behind the pilot, and I had to sit on the edge with a 50 caliber machine gun. And my job, we were flying around the perimeter of our base camp area because we had some insurgency activity that evening, the night before. So I'm riding gunner on this thing. I'd never done it before. Okay, but for some reason they didn't have the guy who was supposed to do it. I don't know where he was, so Sarge put me on it. So I really didn't know what I was doing. I knew how to pull the trigger. I know how to do that. Okay, so I'm riding it. I'm really scared because I'm really hoping I don't see nobody, because if I see you, you dead meat. Okay, I'm gonna shoot you. So, but made that trip a couple times and came out of that okay. So, but mostly. It was good memories from that Huey, man. That was when I came back from Vietnam. It wasn't very nice because the society had a very negative attitude about our involvement there, and so instead of taking it out on the government, they took it out on us. So most often we couldn't even wear our uniforms, But I think what's happened is over the years, this whole attitude has changed. And so that makes me proud to know that people have come to a point of appreciating what we gave, what we did, We gave a lot. We gave a lot. And people say, well, why were we in Vietnam? Well, Vietnam, the situation there could have been something that could have, to a broad extent, expanded to the U.S. I mean, if communism is allowed to encroach themselves on a people that don't want it, and we are defenders of rights and freedoms, and we go to help these people, all right, that says a lot about us, I think, And so that lets the other folks know that we ain't gonna take no stuff, Don't even come here. So I don't know. Proud, yeah, very proud of being a part of this great military force that we have here in the United States. The best in the world, by the way. The best, bar none, the best. And I was glad to give 20, I grew up in the military. Went in at 17, stayed 24 years. So I've got no regrets.
Welcome back to In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WCTV Channel 11. We continue with our special In Focus, and I'm happy to have with me Gary Franklin. Gary, thank you for taking some time and talking with me.
Well, it's my pleasure. Obviously, this is a great day for the park. We've had a lot of great days, but this is a great day again. And we think back, I've been trying to get a Huey in here for almost 20 years. And today is going to be the culmination of that dream. I remember when we first started out with just the Vietnam Memorial, and we had a hard time getting veterans in the community to support the park because all the old veterans, World War II guys at that time, thought this was just a Vietnam park. And they could not envision what we wanted to do here in the park. So we come up with the idea that if we wanted to get all veterans on board with this as a veterans park and not a Vietnam park, then we had to do something. So we decided at that point that we were going to put in 3 memorials at once, which was the World War I, World War II, and Korea. And we had to raise a lot of money to do that. We got good support from the community. We got great support from the local VFW post, 1108 here. They contributed about $20,000 for it. And we got those memorials in. Once we did that, then everybody could see a little bit more about what our vision was. So obviously after that, we decided to continue on with a memorial for all the conflicts that we were in. Then we decided we're going to continue on again, and we did the monument for Iraq, Afghanistan. And we thought, well, we don't have anything for women here. So we decided that we needed to get a women's memorial in. So I talked to Sandy Weedig at the VFW Auxiliary and asked her if she would like to take on that project, and she said sure. So she took on the project, they raised the money for it, and at the same time we decided that we would put the Purple Heart Memorial in at the same time in order to balance out the park a little bit. So we did that. And then we decided that, well, all of these are basically war memorials, and we've honored all the people who served in those various wars. But we had a whole bunch of veterans who just didn't happen to be in at the time that the war was going on. So we decided we would put the Peacekeeper Memorial in, which is up as you come in the park. And that honors all veterans who served in the military in times that were not a war, because we want to make this park all-inclusive. A couple of days ago, we put a new monument in up there that's got brass plaques in it for all of the branches of service, and we had Pardo help us get that in. Of course, I got to say, the guy that's helped us from the get-go has been Billy Dwyer from Dwyer Monuments. He's helped us get all the monuments. He's helped us set all the monuments, and he's just been a godsend. He just does everything for us that we could want to do. The guys from Pardo's that was here a couple days ago, they did that on their own time. These guys that are operating the crane today, they're doing that on their own time. We're not paying them a penny for it. They're just doing it to help the park. And we've had so much help from the community, and we now have, when we get this Huey set up here, we've got one more memorial that we want to put in, or at least one more that we know of at this point, and that's for the Gold Star families. And I'm not sure when we'll do that. I'm sure it'll be probably another year or so before we get that, because our whole thing at the park, I used to go around to all the organizations in the community carrying a 4-foot long picture of what this park was, beg, borrowing, stealing, trying to get money to do this with. And we've always had the philosophy that we collect a bunch of money and then we do something, and we run out of money, and then we have to collect a bunch more money and do something else. And that's the way we've operated in this park. We've also got all these shells in here these are 16-inch shells that were fired from the biggest battleships, in our inventory during World War II. Of course, these are dummy shells, but each one of those things weighs over 2,000 pounds. And it's amazing to think that they could fire 16-inch guns and shoot a 2,000-pound projectile for 25 miles and hit something with it. So we've got one more memorial to do that we know of, and we hope that when we get that in, that everybody will come back to the park and enjoy it. We do have a lot of people here. We have people from the fire department, people from the police department. We even had a wedding down here once of a guy that was fixing to deploy to Afghanistan, and he wanted to get married down here in the park before he left. So we do have a lot of things going on here. A lot of people come down here to the shelter and have lunch, just contemplate the park. Of course, this is where we've also had all of our moving walls from Vietnam down here. I think we've had, I've lost track, either 5 or 6 times. We do it every 5 years that we've had down here. And then everybody can come down, they can see the 58,000 plus names that are on the wall in D.C. of those people that haven't had a chance to go to D.C. and see the wall. They can come here and see a replica of the wall. So we encourage everybody to come. It's amazing how many people we still have in Richmond that don't even know this park exists. It's hard to believe, but it's true. And we just encourage everybody to come down, look around the memorials. You probably have a brother, a father, an uncle, a mother, or whatever that served in one of these wars at some point in time, and come down and honor them and pass on to your kids a little bit of the history of their service and also the history of the service from all the veterans that are represented down here. Come on down and join us.
Thank you. Before we let you go, tell us about your service. What branch and what'd you do?
Well, I was in the Army. When I got out of Purdue, I graduated from Purdue. I went down to Fort Benning for basic and airborne ranger school. And then I went to Germany for a year. Then I went to Vietnam for a year and served with the 25th Infantry Division. That is the nose art on that Huey is the patch from the 25th Infantry Division. It's called Tropic Lightning. A lot of people call it the electric strawberry. And then when I come back from Vietnam, I went back to Fort Benning for a year to the Infantry Officer Advanced class, and then went back to Germany for 3.5 years, and then I got out.
Gary, thank you very much for the time you've put into the park, for the community, for the members of the service who are able to come down, for their family members, and thank you for your service too.
Thanks for being down here and passing on the word for us.
Happy to do it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I was in the Army, and I spent my entire tour on the DMZ. There's a lot of Huey action. I mean, they was bad. They saved our backsides many times, and was very grateful to them. I was there 67, May of 67, May of 68. I went through, I was wounded at Tet of 68 when that started. Where I was at, there was no military bases north of us. Between us and North Vietnam, we was in. But at the time, there was no Army units up there, so we was attached to the 3rd Marine Division. And I don't know, we just survived. We did what we had to do to survive. And Tet of 68 was the worst. We were surrounded for, I don't know, quite a while. I'm part of this park, and I'm surrounded by other Vietnam vets. Safest place in the world right here for me. Around other Vietnam vets, I can relax. If I'm in a restaurant somewhere, I'm on edge. I don't. But when I'm with my brothers in arms, it's good. Because we're brothers. And when we came back, that's all we had was one another. So, that was the worst part about the Vietnam War, was coming home. That was the worst part. Things have gotten better. But the nightmares don't go away. It's still there. But it's come a long ways. Long ways. And we get it all the time. People are grateful for our service. That's appreciated. These guys here that I'm chatting with here, we meet like 4 times a week in a local restaurant. And every once in a while, somebody buy our breakfast. It's awesome. It is what it is. We're brothers. Ain't anything I wouldn't do for one of them. They'd do anything in the world for me. We had one another's backs over there. And we did our best.
Two of the most wonderful people we've had the privilege of working with, of course, is Joe and Barb. It's unbelievable. This memorial, I've been very blessed to see a lot of war memorials, and this memorial is unbelievable. Right here in Richmond, Indiana. The people of Indianapolis need to know about this. I mean that sincerely. We had a lot of crew that worked very hard on this ship. What's amazing is that the hardest workers on this ship were Vietnam veterans. Lauren Johnson, Rich, who worked extra hard on this ship, Stu, where's Stu? Back there. Stu, who worked extremely hard on it. Lauren and Stu are our crew chiefs of our organization, and they crewed in these in Vietnam. Stu crewed in Cobras. Rich was a medic. So we have other Vietnam veterans in our crew, and they're absolutely wonderful, but these people primarily put a lot of time and effort in on this ship. This ship was sitting in the Carolinas in a jungle-like atmosphere with another ship that I picked up and brought back to Indiana, and they would have been scrapped. This ship was in many attack helicopter units, and it made it back here. When it goes up in the air, you'll see patches on this. This thing's got a lot of scab patches. What's a scab patch, Lauren? Bullet holes. Bullet holes. This is a real war horse. And so not only did it fought war, but it also took men out who were being injured in the war. And I know for a fact, because I love Jesus Christ very much, I feel the souls. I know some souls moved on in this helicopter. So how beautiful today that it's being dedicated to the city of Richmond and to this memorial. It's amazing. When I came into this town, and your mayor and your police department brought me to tears 3 times. Phenomenal. Joe and Barb, Joe, Vietnam veteran, put his heart and soul into having this happen. I mean, look at this. I've never seen a stand like this, and I've seen some stands. Only Joe would build something like that. And all the people that worked with him. So anyway, what I want to say is a quick prayer. I want to say, Lord, we dedicate this helicopter today to the soldiers, men and women of Vietnam. They never received the accolades they deserved when they came back. And now it's time. This is their time. We dedicate this helicopter to those who gave the ultimate sacrifice so we could have this freedom today that we're enjoying. And we dedicate this helicopter to all the veterans who made it back who are still struggling mentally and physically. We dedicate this helicopter, Lord, to all the young people who need to learn what war is about. We dedicate this helicopter to the city of Richmond and to this memorial. We thank you for having us all here together today, because today we're all one. We thank you for this solemn moment. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Let's raise it, guys. What do you say? All right.
This episode of In Focus has been made possible with the support of Cronin Toyota and Cronin Nissan, proud to support our active and retired military members and their families. Cronin Toyota and Cronin Nissan, 5601 National Road East, Richmond.